So, I feel like shit, and I wonder why. Um, and I'm creating this video in order to gain better insight, to gain better clarity on what's happening within my being. And I'm using this as a medium in which I can better connect and communicate with myself. In order to better understand myself, in order to create the best quality of life that I can for myself. Self-awareness, self-understanding. You get what I'm getting at. Whether or not I share this with the world is still undecided. However, I definitely am going to use this as a tool in order to perpetuate my growth, to accelerate my growth. Okay, so at what point does feeling bad indicate whether or not you should continue exploring why you feel bad, or coming to the understanding in which negative perception creates negative experience? And negative perceptions just originate from beliefs, core beliefs. So at what point can we just allow ourselves to completely let go of negative beliefs, as in automatically allowing ourselves the instant moment where we experience a negative experience within our body? At what point are we allowed to just automatically transcend that negative belief? Because it's only negative in that context in which you experience a negative reaction, because your essence is moving into a frequency domain in which that old prior core belief that used to serve you by your choice is not in alignment with who you are now choosing to be in this new frequency. So you got new frequency, old frequency, and then you got that in-between area. Okay, and when you're shifting from old into new, you experience cognitive dissonance or resistance when you don't allow yourself to fully... I guess where I was going with that was the stress of cognitive dissonance would be created from the resistance of the shifting into, or from, old reality into new reality. Now, I know I'm speaking slow, however, I'm just doing this to better understand, to more clearly understand from a grounded point of view filled with wisdom. So, no negative judgments here. And I know that I can share this with you guys because we're co-creating an experience in which we are transcending all negativity, where we're leaving all our negative baggage behind at the door and entering a sacred space in which we're co-creating, filled with just pure positivity, to perpetuate growth between us in order to better ourselves. And when we better ourselves, we can better the world. Okay, so where do I want to go with this? Old reality, new reality, shifting in between. From this higher state of awareness, we can allow ourselves to condition ourselves to instantly realizing every time we have a negative experience, We know that that's just derived from a negative perception, derived from a negative belief. Because in that light, that negative belief has become negative because I, maybe you too, have defined it in a limiting way. Because what I am personally doing in my transformation is I'm doing my best to become my unlimited being. And that's why this is coming up. Because as I'm shifting into my new personality, it's strange and it's uncomfortable. And I think that should resonate with a lot of us here. Because change can be an interesting experience. Because when we change, at least for me, it seems that my old paradigm does everything in its power to prevent me from leaving. And I'm beginning to realize that that old paradigm was constructed purely for me to experience, in the sense that this old paradigm is created to perpetuate this specific paradigm. And when you are introduced with a new paradigm, or a new way of living, a new way of existing, or new information, if you're existing in an old paradigm in which you believe or perceive, or believe and perceive, this new paradigm somehow negates the old paradigm, that's when you experience all that negativity. That's what I'm experiencing. Okay. So, how can we transcend into a higher state of being, a higher state of behaving, in which we can harmoniously shift from our old paradigm into our new preferred paradigm? To be void of all experiences of negativity during this shift. What I'm beginning to hint at is when we allow ourselves to fully know that the transformation is already done on a higher level, and we can fully accept and embody that truth, then we will begin to experience. That's a very interesting concept, that we, in our limited perspective of consciousness, of existence, have created a reality in which we are programmed by this collective consciousness, in which the general consensus is seeing is believing. If you have not seen it yet, if you have not experienced it yet, it can not be true. How great of an illusion is that? Because the only reason that reality could even be true is because we believed in it in the first place. Like, whoa. That's some interesting insight right there. So, what can we do to perpetuate ourselves forward in our transcendence? Use this information and use this to fully understand and fully embody this truth that believing truly is seeing. And wow, that's just a crazy insight, because at least me personally, when the concept of believing is seeing entered into my personal experience, I resisted it because it was foreign to me. However, the more and more I allowed it just to be, because I was acting from a state of openness, right? Because I've heard of many people talking about believing is seeing, or like you hear about things like the law of attraction. However, you can be in states in which you've never experienced something like that. However, you're humbling yourself enough to understand that you may not understand everything. And that's really allowing yourself to be open into new realities. And for me personally, I never quite shut it out. It just was a concept. And by allowing it to just sit there, it germinated into my reality in magical ways beyond my conception. As I'm beginning to understand now, beginning to see now, looking back into past experiences that I've had, it's as if a essence outside of myself has been trickling in all of these little experiences into my life, here, there, here, there, here, there, in which to shake up my belief system, and to be dormant, for me to now in this realization look back and be like, wow, all of those things happened for a reason. And it transcends me into a higher state of awareness in which everything does happen for a reason, which is a incredibly powerful insight. And the beauty behind all of this is that this has all originated from me being willing to allow a higher power into my life. That is mind-blowing, honestly. Because I've lived in states of beings in which I've refuted the idea of God. I've perceived it as something that's very, very disempowering. I viewed it as lost individuals giving away their power into something that doesn't exist. However, what I'm beginning to realize is that before I continue, I just want to say that mindset was generated from a state of absolute empowerment. And because I wanted to be as empowered as I possibly could be. And to me, from that state of being, allowing myself to give up my power to a power outside of myself, even if it was higher, that was disempowering, because that's just how I perceived it. That's what I believed. However, now what I'm seeing is that because of that, I really cut off a lot of grace out of my life, because I really truly believe that I was directly responsible for every single detail in my life. And if I did not tweak every specific, perfect, minute, microscopic detail into my favor, then I would not be succeeding. As if the natural law of existence was for me to fail. It's a really interesting concept, and I could explore how I got there, but I really don't think it matters at this point, because I fully decided that the only place that I'm going is up. So, where do I want to go from here? Is the question. What was I talking about in which I cut myself off in order to share that last piece? Maybe it just isn't relevant anymore. Where do we want to go from here? Natural law. Let's enter into that realm. What is the true fundamental natural law of existence? To exist? Okay. Clear. When we allow ourselves to step outside of our limited perspectives and we allow ourselves to embody and perceive from a higher state of awareness in which we can embody infinity. Interesting concept. And we view creation through the eyes of infinity, or in essence, if you will, for maybe more cohesive terms, through the eyes of God. Now that's a bold statement, because we have so many mixed up ideas of what God is here on this planet. So much so to the point of those on our planet waging war against others based on their perception of what God is. Isn't that interesting? So when I personally refer to God, I'm referring to absolute power. I'm referring to the absolute, the all-powerful. The essentially alpha god, if you will, because we have so many different gods out here where one's this and one's that, and this god says if you don't do this then you're condemned to this, or you must do this in order to receive this. What if we allowed ourselves to just see beyond that whole illusion and just go straight to the source? A truly all-powerful being doesn't even need any other being in existence to acknowledge its existence. If we're referring to the absolute, and the absolute being everything, if it's all-powerful, it's everything. So we have existence, then we have the absolute. And let's say the absolute is the highest level of existence, in which you become all-powerful. And the absolute is everything. So let's create an empowering term for ourselves and define that as unconditional love. The absolute is so absolute that it is everything. The absolute is unconditional love. Because from the absolute's perspective, everything is equal. Everything. That means particles, humans, animals, plants, everything within existence is equal. Interesting concept. how do we use this to empower ourselves is the real question. To not just sit on thoughts. How can we use this to empower ourselves? What if we could draw from this experience of the absolute and allow ourselves to connect to the absolute as a source of raw creation, and from that place of the absolute, or the prime oversoul, if you will, what if we could create a connection with that prime oversoul in which we can draw into our experience whatever we truly decided we preferred? Because for me, memories have recently, increasingly, yet gradually so, I've been regaining memories of experiences and agreements that I've created for myself before this existence. From a space outside of space and time. And it has taken me a lot of courage to step out and speak on this truth, because of my perception of fear, because of the fear the fear that I've held within the past in myself. Thank you. That was an act of grace. However, I've fully decided, and I've been fully embodying the release of all fear from my experience. And it's been very healing. Anyways, a primordial place in which I've made agreements in this life in order to do certain things. And growing up, I've always had this sort of connection to this space that is beyond myself. However, it was always vague. And it's been becoming increasingly more and more vivid as I've been growing older. And mainly because I've stopped resisting it. It's funny because going through high school, I had this call in which I could not explain. However, it was greater than myself. And I followed it into really great experiences. And, well, I also followed it into not so great experiences, which I guess gave me the ability to discern whether or not I was actually being called. Interesting. Long story short, I'm answering the call now. And the call's been becoming so incredibly loud and triumphant that any decision or any act which I choose not to act in alignment with this higher calling, things get really chaotic. And I'm beginning to understand that this is by choice, not conscious choice. However, it's derived from the conscious choice of me wanting better for myself, and me wanting to understand myself more, and for me wanting to understand the truth of existence and the truth. And yeah, so I've been growing, which is something that I can really, really appreciate. And I can also really appreciate all my negative experiences, because it just shows me that negative experiences really don't serve me in any sort of way. At all. It's taken me a long time to understand that, and that's how, like, tricky negative beliefs can be. Because the negative belief's job is to create an experience for you in which you must believe this belief. That if letting go, and it, from my experience, negative beliefs can go so far to the point where if you release this negative belief, or if you release this belief, which generates that negativity, you will cease to exist. That's how ingrained they can become within our being. However, the more and more powerful we become, and the more and more enlightened we become, the more and more we can allow ourselves to release negative beliefs more and more so. And then core beliefs can be removed like that once we really begin to understand the mechanisms of creation. And when we allow ourselves to release all these negative beliefs, our reality can shift like that. I'm really beginning to see that my reality is shifting more and more rapidly so. I mean, it's something that I'm truly grateful for, because it's something that I've been asking for a very long time, with persistence and commitment and dedication, to be honest. And it's just really nice to know that I'm being gifted what I've been asking for, and also that I'm really grateful for the realization that the only thing that has been holding me back from experiencing whatever I've been wanting to experience has been me. It was only me believing that there was something outside of myself. Careful with this one, because this is really collective conditioning right here. Believing that there's a source outside of yourself that's preventing you from achieving whatever it is that you want. Yikes. That's some heavy shit. Dude, looking back, that's the heaviest, most disempowering thing that you could ever believe in. And this is something, now I say this out of complete humility, because I believed in this for so long. And I never believed that it was people holding me back. I always, for me personally, and I understand that some people believe that other people are holding them back from winning, and I just say that to really help entrain an aspect of enlightenment into all of us by saying that, dude, no one's responsible for you not winning at life besides you. It's not the rich people, it's not the wealthy people, it's not the people that are living lives the way that they want to live. So stop judging them, because they're living their lives the way that they want to live them, in the same way you're living your life in the same way you want to live it. Now, let me be gentle here, because I know how frustrating, believe me, I know how frustrating things can truly be when you don't have what you want, you know what you want, and you just can't seem to get what you want, and life's just not what you want, and for some reason life just keeps getting worse and 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 worse. That was my life. That has been my life for probably the past 60 years, to be honest. And for me personally, this was derived from an experience in which I stopped believing in God. Yeah. Or a higher power. I never really I guess I called the higher power God sometimes. Yeah. So, the takeaway from this video, from experience, believe in God, believe in a higher power. At least, if you don't believe in it, allow yourself to begin to believe in it. At least open that doorway for yourself. Because, full circle here, you are so freaking powerful that you can create something within your own consciousness in which you, limited perspective you, can interact with a higher perspective you, in which that higher perspective can be responsible for all these little nitty-gritty details, so you don't have to deal with them. That's called grace. That's called using grace to your advantage. Now, I'm not excusing laziness. Make the discernment for yourself. However, what I am saying is that because I've allowed a higher power into my life, it has been able to truly reduce a lot of stress into my life, because it has allowed me to enter a greater state of peace in which things that it's been able to allow me to transcend into greater states of peace. And from those states of peace, I've been able to better manage my life to my design. In essence, creating a greater quality of living for myself. If you like these talks, subscribe. If you don't gotta watch anymore. It was your own free will that brought you here, so it can be your own free will to respectfully and lovingly leave. All that I remind you is nothing happens for a reason. And from a physical, mechanical level, if you have context for what I'm speaking of, you cannot attract what you are not the vibration of. You cannot draw into your experience, what you are not. That's true power, whether you're conscious of it or not. So come to the realization that you're creating this for yourself right now in this moment for a reason. If you connected to me somehow through this quantum space, then you did so for a reason, in order to teach yourself something. Alright, well, interesting food for thought before we close out on this video. For more of you advanced souls out there, I incite you to participate in this activity in order to free yourselves from the illusion of this reality, this limited reality. Allow yourselves to become aware of what you are projecting onto me. Understand that you are just a conduit for an expression of consciousness or an expression of light, in which, as this projector, you're projecting this light onto this image, onto me. I am, now this is gonna really spark up some remembrance. I am an expression of light. I am an expression of you. I am a light being reflected back to you in order for you to understand yourself better. Whatever you project onto me becomes your reality. Whoever you perceive me as becomes your reality. Whatever you believe about me and what I'm saying, what my message is, becomes your reality. Whatever energetic state that you are in creates your reality. So I entice you, I challenge you to become aware of what emotional mechanism you are emitting into this reality in this moment, in every moment actually, if you really want to reclaim your greater power. And I'm here to remind you that anything short of love, anything actually short of neutrality, so anything negative, is not serving you. Because when you're operating in a frequency domain that is below neutrality, when you're in this realm of negativity, you are perpetuating a reality that you say that you do not prefer. For many reasons. Could be conditioning. I mean, obviously it's conditioning. It wouldn't be your automatic expression. If it wasn't, that's your subconscious acting, and this is me bringing light to your subconscious right now. So be aware of that emotional guidance system that is already within you right now, and every single moment that exists. If it's negative, it's deconstructive to your evolution. Just remember that. Because, and this is going to be more so for those that are more firmly, deeply grounded in this reality, that have not been able to perceive in these realms of awareness that I'm perceiving from. Every time your body enters a state of negativity, that vibration within you, that experience of negativity and that negative energy, creates things, or are physically manifested within your body as cortisol. And when you experience cortisol, your cognitive functioning decreases. And when you experience enough cortisol, you can allow yourself to step into this space called fight or flight mode, which your adrenals start running. Your adrenals start flying. You start getting stressed out. Your organs start getting overwhelmed. Your body physically begins to shut down. Let me explain this to you on a quantum level. Allow me, receive this, please. At a quantum level, when you experience things like negativity or even stress, because stress is negative. Stress, anger, frustration, depression, all that stuff, and it goes all the way down the list. If you want, I could show you an experimental chart in which a doctor measures out vibration and lists all of the different measures. However, the point is, when you experience any sort of negativity at a quantum level, your quantum molecules are entering a state of chaos. They literally start freaking out. And when enough of these particles freak out enough, they create manifestations within your body, dis-ease. And the more you allow yourself to exist within that realm of negativity, the more and more diseases come up. As you can see, I have this residual disease referred to as acne. It's because there's chaos going on within my body that I'm allowing myself to experience. Because of this, it physically manifests into my reality. It can come up as stress, and stress can come up, and stress can be so powerful it manifests into pimples, acne. It can manifest so much into putting you into fight or flight mode, and when you perpetuate far enough, it could put you into states of insanity and psychoticness, essentially. That's where true power comes from, is allowing yourselves to transcend into higher states of awareness, void of fear. When you release fear, wow, shit really gets magical. That's all I gotta say, and I know I've been dragging this on for way too long. 38 minutes and 18 seconds. However, this is empowering for me, so that's all that really, really, really matters. If I can empower those outside of myself, if I can connect to other people through this quantum field and share my experiences, and other people gain value out of that, then this is worth it. Even if it's just one person, or if it's trillions. All I know is that only by valuing myself more, I can become more and more valuable to creation, which is empowering for me. Value is empowerment. Namaste.